spreadsheets for the up-to-date on,
There's copies of what I've got and what y'all have in your books. Are you seeing, now I haven't seen that presentation there, so.
I assume this information came from the fire people. It's different what's in here.
Okay, as far as, that's our proposed is 2022 proposed. That's projected, I think, as to what.
I'm trying to figure out what I'm looking at.
Okay.
Make sure.
I would have updated what y'all have in your books, I would have updated with whatever numbers y'all gave me. So, I haven't seen that though, and if it needs some adjusting, then,
Okay.
you know, I can get that done.
I'd say if Sandy's projections exceed what we had, I would go with those for sure.
Who's on it?
I think those were at 6 months, a lot of those numbers at that point. So what I did is if I would double what we were at 6 months and use that as our projected.
The overtime's at a different figure. So, again, which figure are we supposed to be working with?
Work with whatever he's got, I guess, work with whatever he's got in his
Well,
handout that
the
he gave
projected
you.
overtime for 2021 is probably going to be somewhere around 356,000.
I'm looking to propose the request in 22.
Yes, sir. We've made changes to the pay structure. If you,
I understand, all I want to know is,
the numbers,
these figures we're working with,
yeah,
are
Yes.
these figures we're working with?
though, work with what they give you. Because apparently I got some different numbers somehow.
280. The 280 instead of the 235, Hubert, is that true?
235 is what we were have been budgeted for the last 3 years, and it's always been over
I've got
that
mine.
category.
I don't know if I can step that high. I'm gonna unplug it. Oh,
Your
Wait,
health
wait, the cables.
insurance,
Yeah, I projected what we were at the 6 month
I
mark.
got you. I'll put it up when you come back. Oh, yeah, I'll be right
So
back.
in overtime, in 2019, overtime was 431,000. We were able to get it down to 389,000 in 2020. This year, we're projected down at 356. So we've been chopping away at it.
even though your budget's at 235.
Yes, sir.
So you're going over your budget this year.
We have,
by-
and it's explained in the overtime section. The paramedics were paid overtime over 40 hours. The paramedics alone, over 40 hours, eat up the $235,000 in that budget without any other employee with their built-in overtime. There's 238 hours of overtime built in automatically for every employee based on, they get paid anything over 106 hours is overtime. They work 17 pay periods of 120 hours, so they have 14 hours of built-in overtime that we have to pay them.
Right.
So what we did this year, after we had our meeting, we did the restructuring. We took the paramedics back to overtime over 106 hours. So that was a savings of $586 hours per paramedic times 12. That's a savings of 7,000 overtime hours times roughly 24. So
Yeah, expected in 2022.
and we incurred overtime above what we expected just due to COVID, keeping the truck staff. We had paramedic that, for other issues, had to resign. We have one that's still on work comp. We had one that had a stroke, and he's just now back to work. So we were short 3 to 4 paramedics just on injuries, work comp. So it was a tough year in that area. But we've chipped away the overtime quite a bit. Every year we made our adjustments and
Cindy, can we get new sheets? with these figures?
Yeah, I'm printing the one that Daniel had emailed me to see how it compares to what, but like I said, I've not seen that, so there might be some
I'll give you-
information in that that I haven't seen.
I could just walk through it together if we want.
Let's go back to the overtime for this year. You say you're gonna be at what level, what expenditure in 21?
roughly around 356.
How are you gonna cover that?
We're under in salary and wages, so we'll cover that gap.
This is the one that I got, that you had emailed to me.
Okay.
Just like this, so it may be that some numbers changed after that. Okay, that one's, well, that's the health insurance, I'll fill that one
Yeah,
in.
okay. What I did- I did those
Anyway.
projected out just based on where we're at the 6-month mark. Like
Yeah.
for cancer insurance.
So I probably should not have considered that one to be your final version, correct? Is that what I'm thinking?
Yeah, probably should, next year we'll a little bit
Okay.
closer as far as
Okay.
like health insurance, what that.
Yeah, I
would be.
figured that,
Right.
that. Plug that number. Okay, well, that was, mine.
No, no.
Okay. I don't know if that was yours or, you're gonna end up with me, copies. That one was mine. Okay. I'll update those for y'all and get them back to you.
So since we changed our pay structure for the paramedics from the overtime over 40 to overtime over 106, in the month of September, we reduced our monthly overtime by around $9,500, doing it that way. But on the other end, you have to take the additional wages, and that adds more to salary and wages and less to overtime. Because their pay stays the same, it's just proportioned differently.
So you take out the $250,000 adjustment we made earlier, salaries and wages. You're still talking about a 6.3% increase.
Yeah, we added that in addition to, I think we were at, we were at 2.1577,570 in 21. And then we added roughly the 250 minus the Social Security Medicare. We're able to reduce the overtime for those paramedics, but again, we're having to take those 12 employees and pay them more on a salary and wages, which is part of that increase for that 6.5%.
6.3, that's right. 18%, not considering the 250. 6.3.
In the second half of the budget year, we'd like to consider some type of career advancement ladder for employees as part of a recruitment and retention as well, to where employees meet educational benchmarks, and then they can get a small raise. Every 2 years, they can move up in this educational ladder. So it benefits the department by they're going to school, they're getting technical classes related to fire and EMS. We're going to have an officer development ladder, an EMS development ladder, and a firefighter is what we would like to do. And some of that will be absorbed with the addition into the salary and wages as well. Nobody this far north is doing any type of career advancement ladder, which is a recruitment and a retention tool for employees. Because if they can look and know 20 years down the road that they're going to make, 20% increase in pay, they can kind of project where they're going to be, and it gives them a reason to stay versus a department that maybe pays equal or just a little bit more, but if they don't have a career advancement ladder in place, this could be the thing that keeps them.
That's for the second half of 22.
Yes, sir. And not all the employees would move up. Every 2 years you can make a move up. So if you meet all the educational requirements in that firefighter 1 column, officer column, EMS column, then every 2 years you can move up to officer 2, firefighter 2, EMS 2.
Is that already built into the 22 proposal, wage proposal?
It would be built into that. So you may have 15 employees that would be able to move in 21 or 22, and then in 23, a year later, you may have an additional 10 or 15 that can move. So you're not having 30 or 40 people move every year. It'll be staggered. And then if they don't meet the educational requirements, then they don't move up. So if they want to raise, and they have to put forth the effort in the education. That may be 4 or 5 classes. We still haven't got it built out.
Charlie, you remember Senator Everett Dirksen?
I do, as a matter of fact.
I'm thinking about what he said about Gilmer's things. Before long, we're going to talk about real money.
Million here, million there, next thing you know, you're talking about some real money.
Yes, sir.
This is a major increase.
Salary and wages is always the largest part of any fire department's budget, unfortunately. But we just don't have the volunteers. We're down to 4 or 5 volunteers that can actually respond to calls.
What is your fire station's annual allowance?
Okay, we are at, I think 16.5, 15.
16.
Yeah. And basically what we do with that money is if a refrigerator, they need a refrigerator, they need a stove, washers, dryers, we use a lot of that money for that. If they need a computer, a desk, during COVID, we had a small bed bug problem that developed from just going into these houses where people didn't leave for 6 months, and we had to replace all the bed frames with a sturdy metal bed frame that could be sprayed down. Mattresses, things of that nature, just the normal stuff for fire stations.
No proposed increase for gasoline.
We've been under, and last year we were under budget on that line item, and we felt comfortable at that time not decreasing it, but staying steady with that. We are currently we've been 13% under for gasoline. I talked to Simon, who owns Ideal Mart on 515, the new store, and asked him the projected fuel crisis or issue, and he said he predicts it to get worse before there's any kind of relief. So I would definitely stay at the 110. If the board feels we could go above that, then I would, if you would recommend that. As far as September, we were at 62% of our fuel budget, and we should have been at 75%, so we were 13% under.
What is other contributions, 19,900?
Sandy, is that the money that goes?
That's the money that goes to pay for
The vehicle?
public notification, like with haul out. Isn't that right? That what's it called, is it
Active 911 comes out of our contract services normally.
No, that shouldn't be everybody
Let me look
code
at that.
red, because that should fall under EMA's budget.
Let me look at
I
the
thought
detail.
last year when we talked, the 19.9 had to do with the, what you pay out to.
Oh, for forest
forestry.
fires.
Yes,
Mhm.
it's the forestry
It's
portion.
our contribution of forestry.
And the loan
Protection.
equipment that forestry gives us.
If we could label that GFC or something like that, some contribution to the public contribution doesn't look good, or contribution.
Not a contribution if you get an invoice.
That's right. If you're required to pay it, it's not a contribution.
We did put an increase in miscellaneous grant expenditures. In 2021, we did roughly $94,000 in grants that we received. So one was a COVID grant, one was a fireworks grant through the state, which we used to purchase some firefighting hoses, nozzles, equipment to set up what we call a high-rise pack, to be able to extend a hose line from a fire truck to a house. Sometimes we have a hard time getting to the house with the hose that we have, just based on the geography or the grades of driveways. And then we received a almost $55,000 grant for health and wellness, which we're going to use to fund health physicals for the employees. So it's going to be blood work, stress tests, EKGs. We're going to do cancer screenings for prostate, colorectal, and ovarian cancers. They do stress tests with that. It's full workup. It's what NFPA recommends for firefighters. The second part of that grant, which would come in 2022, would be health and wellness equipment. So we're trying to get healthy. We just got to make sure that the guys are, they'll get some type of dietitian plan made for them. And then we'll use the second grant to fund pure fitness trainers, where we send our guys, they learn how to train in-house the employees. We'll make mandatory fitness, where they have to come in, do their exercises, and then they can go. Trying to get healthy and trying to do the salt improvements. So we usually have a 10% match on these grants. And we're also trying to gonna get a fire truck next year. We're gonna go after that again.
Hey Daniel, on that health insurance line, the 356, 318,
Okay.
um,
I think I just doubled what we were at.
okay, I'm gonna adjust that number
Okay.
because, are y'all, well, let me ask you this first. Are y'all fully staffed pretty much now, or do you, I didn't know if you were
We brought some
anticipating.
additional people on board since we did the $2 an hour stipend and the stuff that we talked about. We brought on about 4 or 5 people.
Because what I have on the current health insurance costs for your department
Yes.
is $356, $318, which is, you've got $417, $480. I've got $356, $318, but I didn't want to adjust that number if y'all anticipate. I'd rather have a realistic number in
Yeah,
there. That's just one of those things that's hard to predict because you don't know if
Right.
you hire somebody that needs coverage just for themselves, it's one thing. If
Correct.
you hire somebody that needs family coverage, it's a different story.
Yeah, we're getting
So-
some of these young guys that are actually coming up. Had a lot of interest out of state as people are moving. So we're working with these employees to get reciprocity or what they need to do to transfer licenses and stuff like that. So we've had a lot more, it seems like younger people that are married.
Kids.
So, yeah.
And wanting the insurance?
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that's what you're saying.
Yes. So when it comes to staffing, the 250,000 that we petitioned and you guys gratefully gave us has helped a lot. And in addition to that, what we're going to try to do in early 2022 is try to set up a non-cert program to where we put the word out, we advertise non-certified citizens in Gilmer County that could actually be brought on board. We gave them a base hourly rate. We put them through our in-house fire academy. So they get their firefighter 1, then they can get a raise. So they're basically getting paid to go to school. And which is kind of an obstacle for a lot of people. They're like, well, I can't give up my job to do this, but I've always wanted to do this. So our approach is to try to get homegrown residents of Gilmer County, younger kids that are graduating, people that might be working at the chicken plant that actually want to do this for a living. So we're wanting to capture local residents that are going to stay here once you put them through the training. They live here, they're not going to go somewhere else. So our objective is to maybe get 15 people, put them through the program. As they complete each educational benchmark, they get their firefighter 1, then they get a bump. They get their firefighter 2, they get another, they jump to that classification, and then we put them through our in-house EMT program. And we do everything at Station 1. And then at the end, they come out, they get on a fire truck or an ambulance, and they've been paid to go to school, and they live here and they work here in their community. So that's our goal for next year. So we're gonna find and grow our own homemade, firefighter EMTs right here in Gilmer. Great. So
I like both your long-term plans. To keep them.
yeah.
Because we honestly can't live without you guys, so.
Well,
It's good.
well, it's a cooperative agreement with everybody. We need your help. So there was an increase in the educational budget from 8,000 to 12,000, but we're gonna need to buy some books and other materials for the training aspect of getting these people trained. But it's a nationwide trend. It's and it's in most professions, even hospitals, and construction. I mean, everybody is just short workers. I don't know where everybody went.
I don't either. They just poof.
They just,
We're not- It's like the left behind, but not really.
The training would be primarily in-house training.
Yeah, so they would be given basically a recruit uniform. They show up every day, at 8 o'clock, they're gonna have to do PT, and then, they're gonna have their classroom stuff, and then the stuff they have in the classroom, then they go out and apply to the outside. We'll we'll have a fire truck there, and it'll basically be a truck that the recruit class operates. They have to keep it clean, keep it fueled, you know, in the mornings they wash their truck, and then, you know, it's basically like their own little fire station. That's what we're trying to get the portable delivered, where they'll have a classroom on site. And all the activities are taken right there at Station 1. And we have, you know, instructors that are state instructors at the Georgia Public Safety Training Center that work for us. So we can do all that, and we can even bring in the evaluators. So totally encapsulated in-house program.
It's a good training program too.
But we've done it on a small scale, but we haven't got a whole group of people.
We've only done it
Yeah, that-
part-time.
Yeah.
We've not done it a full-time Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 type academy. It's always been, it would take you typically 6 months, give or take, to go through 2 to 3 nights a week for 4 hours. So that was really difficult, and not only for the candidate, but also for the department to be able to manage that. So this way we would have it dedicated.
It's their job. I mean, basically to go to school and to learn, and they're getting paid while they're going through the program. And it's had great success in other places. You just have to be selected, and, you know, it's an interview process, you know, they just don't, they have to come on, be physically fit, you know, there'll be, you know, a precursor to, you know, certain physical things that you have to do that are fireground related. So we'll have a little, you know, up and down a ladder, pull a fire hose, just so to see if they can do it.
Sure.
But to have, you know, signed physical waiver from the doctor saying they're healthy to participate in the program. You know, we'll interview, background checks. I mean, it'll be a lengthy process just identifying the candidates. We're hoping that, I mean, the program will be very successful. Repairs and maintenance of vehicles have been pretty good this year. So we've, I didn't ask for an increase in that line item. The average age of our fleet is 2005. Our mechanics have done a really good job in keeping everything on the road and running, and just annual maintenance of the pumps and the motors.
No, I think we've got it for
Did he ever get
everyone on the same page pretty
the
much.
certifications?
He's waiting on his test results, his
So
ASC.
he's taking the test, he's waiting on.
Yes.
Yeah, ASC.
Yeah, he already had the ASC.
There's what they're looking
He's
for,
already-
looking at, and I've checked our numbers, and we're on the same page now, with the exception of like,
What is it?
social security, Medicare, workers' comp, those kind of things.
Is they go for liability purposes?
Emergency vehicles. Okay.
Yeah.
That's one he's taking.
Yes.
He did take that, yes.
There you go.
Just waiting on results. They take 4 to 6 weeks for results.
That's unusual.
It is.
These computers are like.
It is.
Make a mistake from you. I think you had a bubble sheet, to be honest with you.
It's, yeah, it's kind of disappointing in this day and age that we have here. I mean, I remember waiting 6 to 8 weeks for an album to
Latest
deliver to
and
my
greatest.
house as a kid. You know, that was every day to the mailbox.
That's what those are great decisions.
I'm envisioning, some folks that, at budget table, someone in the state right now saying, we need, computers to get away from these bubbles.
So now are salaries comparable in the area?
Yeah, of course, everybody, you know, once you put something out, they bring it up, or,
Right.
you know.
Right.
But we're really competitive.
Okay.
We are. The $2 an hour for the EMTs are usually not being offered in other places. increases, so that's an additional incentive as well. But hourly wise, we're looking pretty good for what we're doing for the paramedics and the $2 an hour, on a class pay is what we're doing. And Chief Chastain's been hitting the technical colleges and doing recruiting, which has been helpful as well.
He's going to North Carolina.
Over
Just
to
hit the
the
college.
Cherokee area, yeah, so, and so it's paid off as well. Gotta do what you have to do. Not a lot of people are hitting up the technical colleges for the paramedic classes. We have a paramedic class that graduates November 1st. So we do have Ron Cheslock and Tiffany Sirach in there.
Okay.
So I think Ron will be a part-time paramedic and Tiffany will be full-time. So I think with the adjustments we made, that's going to be a big incentive in keeping that retaining Tiffany as well. So it's been positive. And the crews have responded positively to that as well. So we appreciate it. Like anything else, inflation has been killing us on medical supplies, and we still do pretty well. We have a good relationship with our vendor. There's the online price, and then there's the price it gives us. So yes, so we do pretty well. We're thankful for that relationship. It's always been to our benefit.
I don't have any other questions.
The 19.9, what would be a good way to title that? I mean, I know it's for, it's just our
Lease
contribution,
equipment as well.
on the wildfire, or the,
Georgia Fire Commission.
Okay.
Lease or something like that.
okay,
Georgia Fire Commissioner assessment.
I'll just put the fire commission. I noticed they didn't bring her this year.
She actually, I talked to her before I got here, she says, I was gonna be there, just as a joke, but she didn't.
Oh, I told her, it's funny.
No.
Yes.
She did. See how quick that came?
So as you guys talk, just keep in mind under that salary and wages, the 2.544 was, the 250 was added into that.
I mean, that's the total figure, right? That's the additional
It is.
salaries, and it's also the stepping.
Yes, yeah, that's all built into that. Yes, sir.
There's the EMA.
Yes.
I didn't have many adjustments to make at all in EMA other than the salary and wages. I did a 3% COLA. I know that, having looked at the national average right now for the COLA bumps, they're averaging about 6%. I know Social Security popped a 6% cost of living increase. So we're a little bit below that, but that would be for the two employees I have, or one full-time, one part-time, that would cover that. And then the retirement contribution, I I plugged in here, and this would have been an error on my part. I did not realize that one of my employees still does a retirement contribution to the Georgia firefighters retirement pension fund. So and I thought that that was still plugged in because he was a certified firefighter. I thought it was still plugged in under the fire department's program element. But when he moved over to EMA, that's still over to us. So last year I did not catch that one, but I caught it now. So that'll be for his contribution to the 457B. And the only changes as you go down for travel and expenses and education and training, there's no change in the amount of money. It's just reprogramming the amount of money with two program elements. One to be 2,000 and one to be 1,000. The total was 3,000 originally. I just broke it up to be able to cover one for hotel lodging and the other for the actual training courses themselves. So we wind up spending more in hotel lodging than we do in the actual courses that we have to enroll in. So I just changed that. So the total remains the same, 3,000, which is what we were allotted originally. It's just broken out to 2,000 and 1,000, does that make sense?
Where's the 1,000 you're talking about?
This would be on travel and expenses,
We're showing 2,000.
and then education and training should be 1,000.
It's showing 3,000.
Okay, so education and training was the total.
Okay.
That was 3,000. What we did was we changed that travel and expenses to 2,000 and education and training 1,000.
Okay,
And all we did was just move, basically take $1,000 from education and training and move it to travel and expenses. Just change it back.
So travel and expense 2,000, education and training 1,000.
That's correct.
Okay. That reflected correctly.
And I think that should already be on there, correct?
It's, no, we corrected it for 20, we made that change for 21,
Right.
but I had already done this and I didn't make that change on the 22.
Okay.
So I've got it updated, I'll give y'all new version. And we changed it for 21, or made that adjustment for 21, I didn't come in here with the 2022 and change it.
All right, any questions?
Can I ask a couple of questions? On the hazard mitigation planning, we won't have any of that.
Hazard mitigation planning is done every
That's-
5 years.
Okay, so we shouldn't have anything related to that for 22, should we?
No,
Okay.
no, we shouldn't see anything that for 22.
And the EMP grant expenditures, we get that every year, correct?
It's $19,928.
So I want to show that on revenue.
That should be a line item. So that one, when you look at the monthly reports, the Emergency Management Performance Grant runs in a cycle from June to July each year. They don't run on a calendar cycle like we would normally run. So if you look at the expenditure, we have to spend that down before June 1st or right at June 1st. So when you see the monthly expenditures, when you start coming into June, July, August, and you see that line item at 100%, it does skew the percentage a little bit. But that's because that money has to be spent by June 1st.
Do we have a match on
No.
that? Okay.
Well, we can take that back, we do. It's a
It's
50%
small.
match, but it's a in-kind match.
In kind, okay.
It's already taken care
Not
of.
anything money-wise?
No, it's in kind, so it's already programmed into the salary of the deputy director.
Another question, what is the food line, $600?
The food line item for $600, we go up, do searches, search and rescue, anything we do like that, we'll have large groups of people out there, it could be for a day, 2 days, 3 days, and that's when we take that food line item and we gotta be able to feed them.
I don't have anything else.
I don't either.
All right. So the salary wages, you'll see an increase. We're pulling over Gary Watkins from Fire EMS over to us in the full-time operations. And then requesting a pay raise for my part-time guy since I doesn't take the medical benefits to do the offset cost of living.
I'm not showing any increase.
Yeah, what is your salary and wage total? Did you have a total on that?
Yeah, it was
40,
45,344,
okay, 45,
344.
and that takes into consideration Gary, moving Gary's
Moving
over
your
from the fire
areas,
department.
and then 45,000 on the administration salary.
Admin 45, and then 45, 344.
Or which would also,
Got it.
that should bring in Gary, or Pat's, when
Okay.
Rolls into
Rules of the increase, yes. That really takes care of 51101 and 51100.
Mhm. Got it, and then I've already got the social security Medicare calculated
Okay.
here, so
Yep, you got that.
should have that.
And then electricity, 531230. We're requesting $4,800 increase on that. This is due to the fact that some of the runway safety lighting wasn't operational, that we got operational now. It's including obstruction lighting on the hangars, which is an FAA requirement, plus GDOT transportation requirements. We repaired the photo cells on both hangars. This allows the hangars out exterior light, security lighting to come on and off, daylight, sunset. But with the increase of infrastructure, everything else, we're just trying to look at that, and I still have to see about that, to make sure that we got that covered. And then as we do the windsock repair, that'll add additional electricity being used. But we are doing mitigation out there. If we're not using the conference room, those lights are off. Bathroom lights are not being used, those are turned off and checked. So we're just trying to make sure that we're conscious about that, including the tenants coming in the hangar flipping lights on, those kind of things. So we're just making sure that we're watching that.
Speaking of lighting, did we fix the vandalism? Or is that continuing?
So we've mitigated the vandalism. We just had the surveillance system put in, CCTV system. So that is now being monitored and watched from the safety and security standpoint. And the fire alarm and an actual fire and alarming system will be in November the 1st. So that means the FBO itself, the actual access to the lobby will actually have a full alarm system on it, and then so the doors to access. Now, we didn't do the hangars themselves because our tenants come in 24 hours depending on what they're doing, but we do have coverage in both hangars now. So if something happens, we can roll back on the DVR, which right now looks like I'll have about 60 days worth of storage that we can roll everything back because we did 8 terabyte DVR.
Good.
Where'd you say Gary Watkins is coming from?
He's coming from Fire EMS, sir.
So,
Which is probably already been taken into consideration.
Yeah,
Right.
we replaced Gary's position with the staff assistant, or administrative assistant. So that was part of our brand. We went 2 years without an administrative assistant. So our senior staff was absorbing all of those duties, and it was kind of strenuous.
What do you have on gas purchases?
So we finally reached the point where, make sure the telephones get answered, stuff coming in, supplies and equipment, stuff is inventoried, it's checked against invoices.
Well, yeah.
It's been a welcome and needed addition to the fire department. I realized how much you miss them until.
Yeah, I know, that's not, they talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
Because I mean, it's sitting in the account, that's where those fuel cells go. so.
He said the EMS doing the fire.
He is not doing any,
Still green.
Oh, yeah,
not
y'all are making money on that.
educated for that. Yes. You really have to have an EMS background for
That
that.
certification goes along with it.
Yeah.
So that's been done with the EMS.
We have a contract company that does our EMS billing.
Okay, now, I'm sorry, I know we've got the contract company, but I was looking We always had somebody within the department that sort of.
Q&A.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so
Falling
that,
insurance.
that was part of our reducing some of the overtime.
Yeah.
Prior to my arrival, they were paying the lieutenants and battalion chiefs to QA on their days off, and they were getting 8 hours of pay period to do that, which was, that should be within the scope of practice.
Right.
So we made that to where, this is part of your duties. 'Cause,
Okay.
I mean, it's what you're hired on to do. You should be paid extra to do that. So we made that change. It was unpopular, but we did it. And now Chief Burnett handles a lot of that. So he's like the final Q&A on that, or quality assurance on those before they go off the building.
I don't think I've ever seen but one actually popular change. And that was at $3,000.
Yes, yeah. Very welcome. Yes, or yes.
Thank you all very much.
Things firemen don't like is where they're at and where you want them to go. So,
The gas purchase is offset by sales, right?
And they actually have the fuel priced so that they actually the airport makes a little bit of money on the fuel sales,
Well, I would hope so.
but
Right, so what I do, sir, is once we get down to about 1,500 gallons in the tank, I'll start doing an area local pricing within a 30-mile radius of us on avgas, depending on what our load that we can take in. We've been previously just doing 2,000 gallons here, 2,000 gallons there, but on a split load, we're also paying double the freight on a split load. So our last delivery that we took was 4,600 gallons, which saved us almost
$1.
Yeah, almost $1. So what that allowed us to do is based on the area of charging for avgas, non-full service, we were able to come up 80 cents to the dollar, and now we're making 80 cents per fill up. And we've seen an increase in airport operations in the last month, 132 operations per month, from originally when I took it over, 30 operations a month.
that's phenomenal.
Well, it's fantastic. We've done,
Well, it helps me take a trash bag off the actual QT pod for people to fill up.
I'm not, I'm not advocating for increasing budgets, but you think 20,000's enough?
well, I thought last year when we
I don't know if
talked
we
about
wanna,
fuel-
mid-year next year revisit it and have to increase it another 20,000, you see what I'm saying?
So here's the other thing that we've done. QT Pod Services allows us to digitally inventory our fuel usage. So we only have records right now from March, when I took the position. If we could revisit this in March of next year and see what our actual total sales are for the year and what our fuel usage is, I think it'd be a better way for us to project
Okay.
that line item, if that's
Oh,
possible.
perfect. I mean, that's fine with me. That makes sense, I think, too.
But I know that the fuel purchases go into a different
Mm-hmm.
account. So it's not, so when we purchase fuel, we do a PO, the normal way we would purchase anything in the county. And then that funding is reimbursed back from the account that the fuel purchases go into. So, in other words, the county doesn't really see a loss in this as far as purchasing the fuel, which is why we're.
That's the point I was making. It really needs to be separate.
What,
Like a separate entity, almost like an office. Not just for gas, I mean, it's that type of
you
thing.
think it should be an enterprise fund? Like an enterprise?
Could be.
Okay.
No big deal is all of what's going on.
Let's see, we talked about health insurance, communications, 523200, requesting a increase. This is due to the fire detection alarm system being installed, the remote app accessibility, and then also the accessibility in the contract for the CCTV system that's been installed.
What do you have on that one that you're asking for, sorry? It's probably gonna be on your page.
It's on this side.
So the closed circuit TV system and the upgrade and actual activation of the smoke detection system.
6,800. It
And
was only
the,
$800 increase.
Okay, okay.
security
got it.
system at the airport was all paid through grant. So it was all paid through the CARES Act grant. So it didn't come out of, the county operating maintenance funds. So it's been very helpful.
So we increased telephone $800 visual.
It should be 68 and a half.
6,800, sir. Yes, sir.
What line item is this?
That's 523200 communications telephone, sir.
Right, page, telephone.
Should be down toward the bottom, I
Okay, sir.
What is contract service?
That is for like our QT pod. One thing that was identified, not only in FAA but GDOT for an inspection, was that we did not have any onboarding training around safety and security and fuel operations of the airport. So Keith and I did some research, and there's a national certifier, or basically online training with SSI. What this does is the increase there allows for the onboarding and training of the 3 personnel that are on there now. Pat and I have been through everything that SSI has been able to offer to this point. I need to get Gary up to speed on fueling and ground operations and everything else. Also, what this allows us to do is when the Department of Public Works comes out and runs their tractors to do our mowing, they will need to go through a flight line certification with us. So then they will be certified to be able to access the flight line and be out there operating around aircraft. So it's just a safety and security measure, plus additional training.
You go ahead and put it in accountant's terms, what is contract service? What are we contracting for?
Contracting for would be a service provider that we would have a third-party contract with.
What's he providing?
Well, QT Pod provides all of our credit card services.
Okay,
SSI provides our actual training that we have to be certified for through the state of Georgia and also FAA. Those would be what it would be.
thank you.
I don't understand.
You ever kept asking about, I understand it.
Drill down, just drill down. a
Get
little.
lost in the weeds.
I mean, I could go through all the list of training that's available. SSI if we
No,
want.
that's-
But, and then the other item is 5311, general supplies and materials. That's a 500 increase, and it's just due to the fact of, like everything else, we're seeing an increase in products.
What figure are you showing there?
On 53110, general supplies, it was at 1,500, and I'm requesting 2,000.
See, we're operating on different information here.
I've got it. I've got it updated here. I'll get updated copies for you.
And that's pretty much it with the airport. Any of the other projects that we have going, which is the windsock refurbish and our AWAS upgrade, which is required, it's all being come under the FAA non-primary essential funds, which won't have anything to do with us, but maybe a small match, which is already built into the budget.
Seen that bloody windsock cost $40,000. A windsock.
Well, that's just the refurbish. An actual windsock's a little under $100,000.
Oh, wow.
Oh, what?
Windsock, so it's a wind indicator that pilots use to see the leeward wind direction in order to pick which runway they're gonna land on.
Right. I know what you're talking about, it's $100,000.
Yes, it's a brand new one, but we were able to do a 3-bid process with GDOT and get a contractor to do it for about $38,000. And again, that'll come out of money that's set aside for us with the FAA and Georgia Department of Transportation, right, for the aviation side. So we're not extending that to any of the taxpayers.
Awesome.
Or as some people would say, it is tax dollars, it's just not ours.
Just not ours.
Yeah, I understand there are people who think that way.
We hear that once in a while, don't we?
We do.
I don't have anything else.
Daniel, thank you for the thought, that plan, long-term plan.
Oh, it was a group effort, my senior staff and some of the tech teams, we all kind of got together on it.
Yes.
I think it's a fantastic long-term plan.
Gives people an opportunity
They
that may not otherwise be
Yeah,
able
that's right.
to do it, so.
Appreciate you guys.
No problem. Thank you.
Good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it. You're all set.
Maybe we can stay